Okay, so we are living right in the middle of what I'd call the defining paradox of 2026. Digital threats are scaling at a speed we've literally never seen before, and organizations absolutely know they're in the crosshairs. But there's this massive, really dangerous disconnect between the mountain of money we spend preparing and how we actually perform when an attack hits.
Which boils down to the central question of this explainer. Are we actually ready? Because as we're going to see, investment does not automatically equal readiness. You can go out and buy all the shiny security software in the world, but if you don't know for a fact how it holds up under real fire, well, you're basically operating on hope rather than hard evidence.
Now, look, it's not that companies are ignoring this. They're absolutely taking the threat seriously. Cybersecurity isn't just some IT problem hidden away in a dark server room anymore. It has moved straight into the boardroom. In fact, nearly 3/4 of organizations have now integrated cyber directly into their core business strategy.
And they're definitely putting their money where their strategy is. Literally half of all organizations have ramped up their cybersecurity spending over the last 12 months, investing super heavily in baseline controls. But here is the catch, and it is a huge one. While we are all incredibly busy implementing these controls, we are seriously struggling to prove that they actually work.
We're seeing a violent shift in the paradigm right now. We're rapidly moving away from simply buying controls to having to relentlessly prove that those controls will hold up. The distinction between having a nice checklist on paper and demonstrating actual proven performance, that is rapidly becoming the defining line between just being compliant and actually surviving.
So assurance is now the absolute baseline for survival. It's the new currency of trust. Your insurers, your regulators, your customers, they honestly do not care about your good intentions anymore. They want to see proven operational performance under intense pressure. They're demanding predictable recovery, not just hopeful guessing.
So what's driving all this intense urgency? Well, the data reveals a pretty clear hierarchy of what's keeping the experts up at night. The modern threat landscape isn't defined by isolated little risks anymore. It's defined by converging attack vectors that are specifically designed to hit you all at once.
And the numbers paint a pretty stark picture. Ransomware is still the absolute top concern for 57% of organizations, closely followed by AI-driven attacks at 43%. And remember, ransomware isn't just some technical glitch you can reboot away. It's a massive commercial continuity crisis that literally stops businesses dead in their tracks.
Now, let's talk about AI for a second. Artificial intelligence isn't necessarily creating entirely new ways to hack you. Instead, think of it as a massive accelerant. It's like a giant fast-forward button that supercharges the speed, the scale, and the sheer believability of attacks. I mean, phishing emails are flawless now, and reconnaissance, it's fully automated. And these threats, they don't exist in a vacuum. A typical modern attack is basically a chain reaction. It almost always kicks off with a simple phishing email. Then it gets escalated and accelerated by AI rapidly moving laterally through your networks, and it finally ends in a completely devastating ransomware payload. But here, this is where the gap widens. And we uncover a pretty terrifying reality hiding right behind those rising budgets. We call this the assurance gap. It is that highly dangerous space between the illusion of safety your budget gives you and your actual, practical readiness to handle that disruption chain we just talked about. Get this, the readiness levels out there are genuinely alarming. A staggering 31% of organizations have an incident response plan that they have never actually tested. Never. And 26%? They don't even have a plan at all. Let that sink in. That means well over half of the organizations out there are entirely guessing how they'll react when their screens suddenly go dark.
Having a beautifully documented plan sitting on a digital shelf somewhere creates a massive false sense of security. Because when ransomware actually hits, roles completely blur, escalation paths fracture, and executives just freeze up. An untested plan falls apart instantly in the real world. Actually rehearsing your response is the only thing that prevents total failure.
As one leading global expert pointed out, modern resilience is entirely about measurable performance under extreme stress. It's about validating that your backup restoration times are actually predictable. It's knowing for a fact that your team knows exactly who to call and exactly what to do at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday.
Okay, but let's say your internal readiness is absolutely flawless. Awesome. But there's still a massive, interconnected vulnerability you might be completely ignoring: the supply chain blind spot. Today, your digital perimeter is practically non-existent because you are so deeply connected to external vendors, software partners, and cloud providers.
So here's your wake-up call. An absolutely incredible 74% of organizations do not mandate formal cyber risk assessments for their Tier 1 suppliers. Seriously, almost 3/4. You could have the absolute best locks on your own front door, but you are leaving the back door wide open by letting unchecked vendors plug right into your network.
Because our systems are so incredibly interconnected today, attackers are just taking the path of least resistance. They will gladly use your less secure vendor or maybe a third-party IT provider as a Trojan horse to ride straight into your fortified enterprise. Honestly, your biggest risk right now might actually be someone else's mistake.
And this requires a fundamental, total shift in mindset. You have to start looking at ecosystem governance, not just managing your own internal IT department. You have to demand hard evidence of security from the partners you connect with, because at the end of the day, if they fail, you fail. It's that simple.
So the ultimate takeaway from all of this is that we have to move from a posture of passive compliance to one of active, proven resilience. You can't just adopt controls anymore. You absolutely have to validate them. Hard evidence is the new baseline standard of survival. The most secure, forward-thinking organizations are standardizing around 4 key pillars. They protect by putting strong baseline controls in place. They validate by relentlessly testing those controls through independent assessments. They respond by constantly rehearsing their recovery plans. And they evolve by feeding all of those learnings right back into their business strategy.
I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought to chew on for your own organization. When the breach inevitably happens, and it will, are you going to be relying on hopeful assumptions and untested checklists, or will you have the hard evidence and the rehearsed capability to actually survive it? Thank you so much for joining this explainer, and remember, keep pushing for clarity.